If you've decided to write about an event in history, it's a no-brainer that you'll need to do some research on this historical event to understand it in more depth. What actually happened? What interesting facts can you find out about the event? Who was involved in the event? What were the reactions of the public to this event? Were there consequences? Were these consequences good or bad? Are there any manuscripts or texts from this event that you could use or be inspired by for any lyrics that you might write? Does this event include certain dates? And can the dates and the numbers be used to inspire rhythms in your music or the number of bars in each section? Perhaps your event happened in the depths of winter, and this had a huge impact on the outcome of the event. The concept of feeling cold could inspire shaking vocals or lots of instrumental layers being added to your music to warm up your orchestration. Or perhaps you've decided to write about an emotion. Let's assume you're challenging yourself and writing about an emotion that is rather complex and intricate, something like disappointment, for instance. It's not just an emotion of pure sadness. There are many more layers involved with a complex emotion like disappointment. So try digging a little deeper to uncover things that might exist under the surface of your original idea, the less obvious things that your topic might suggest. When you start a new business, you'd never open a cafe, for example, without doing some serious research. Are there any other cafes in the area that might be your competition? Do people want a cafe they can come to and sit down at with their dogs and their families? Or is it a cafe close to a train line, in which case your quick morning takeaway coffee might be your best selling point? All of the prior research, or idea validation as we call it in business, ensures that your idea is a good one before you invest your time and money into building it. The same rules apply to your music. You need to do your solid research before you invest your time and possibly money into creating it. Now, part of this research could involve interviewing your friends and your family. If you've decided to write about disappointment, for example, ask your friends and family to explain how they feel physically, mentally, and socially when they experience disappointment. Put out a Facebook poll or a poll right here inside Composerfy. Your poll might ask whether people often have certain physical movements that are associated with the feeling of disappointment. Perhaps you find out that people tend to slump their shoulders or walk with their gaze lower when they're feeling disappointed. This might inspire the idea to use melodies or harmonies that move in a downward fashion. Or perhaps your research reveals that when your friends feel disappointed, they detach themselves from the people around them for a few days, wanting to be more alone. This might inspire your song's texture. Perhaps you'll decide to use only a few instruments with widely spaced harmonies and lots of time between your chord changes to replicate this feeling of isolation. Thinking outside the box like this at this stage of your writing process can conjure up some incredible musical ideas. Or perhaps you've chosen to write about an object. Let's say a hairbrush. What information can we get from digging deeper into the object of a hairbrush? What is the hairbrush used for? Who has used it? What does it look like? What shape is it? What color is it? When is it used? Mornings, evenings, or does it just sit in a drawer? Does the hairbrush have feelings? Can we personify the hairbrush? Is it jealous of the new electric hair wand? Can you talk about the hairbrush as being a metaphor for something else? Beauty, perhaps? Or a metaphor for straightening something out, perhaps becoming sober? Or maybe you could use the hairbrush as an anthem for marriage equality, with the lyrics chanting something like, "We don't need straightening, being curly is awesome," or something like that. Suddenly, we've transformed the humble hairbrush into an incredible piece of music. Writing music is all about telling a story, either with words and lyrics or your chosen rhythms, melodies, and harmonies. For me, if my music doesn't tell a story, doesn't depict an emotion, or doesn't achieve something specific, then I haven't done my job as a music creator properly. So tell a story about your chosen topic, whether you've decided to write about an event, an object, a person, an animal, etc. Tell a story that's interesting and beyond what's initially obvious.